Hello there, World of Tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Adroodles Blitz, and in today's video, I'll be reviewing the Pharaoh. This is a Tier 7 Blitz Nation Heavy, a vehicle that was released 5 days ago as part of the Pharaoh's Treasury event. Unfortunately, I was not able to get my hands on the tank at the time because I was actually flying down to meet my family, and I literally, no joke, the tank was released at 7 a.m. in my time because I live in Colorado, and my plane flight was at like 9, so I literally had to leave at 7. The worst possible timing. I got the tank the first day. I instantly purchased it doing, gambling with my 100 and whatever thousand gold. But yeah, I haven't played it until today, so I am excited to talk about the vehicle for today's video. Now, how to get the Pharaoh is fairly simple. If you haven't gotten it already, honestly, that's probably better news for you. First of all, in the free event, you've got this little, I don't really know what to call it, but you can see right there, it's a little like tank icon square, and it gives you a 7% drop chance from the normal 1% drop chance to get your hands on the vehicle. But that's not the only way to get the tank. The more masteries you get, the higher your drop chance is to get the vehicle. You can get up to 7 of the little tank glyphs, I'll call them, and then I think at max you have like a 30% drop chance. That's honestly not bad, especially judging that you can see here, you can get these ring keys, which will let you open a container for free. So you get 2 free chances to get your hands on the vehicle, and if you're smart, you save these ring keys until like the last day when you get your drop chance up as high as possible, and then you open them. With a 30% chance and these 2 ring keys, I mean, you get a really solid opportunity to get your hands on this vehicle for free. So I don't want to see anybody complaining in my comments section that this tank was hard to get or it was unfair, because honestly, for the vehicle that Wargaming is giving away, it's a really easy chance to get your hands on. And, I mean, even if you don't get it with the free, you can still probably, with about $10, $15 worth of gold, get your hands on the vehicle very easily for, again, the 30% drop chance you can get it up to. Now, not only is there the Tier 7, but you can also get the Med J, which is a Tier 5. It's based off the Excelsior. I haven't played this tank yet, so I guess I'll make a review on it. Nah, I probably won't, but maybe when I'm doing a live stream, pick my tank. If you guys want to see it played, join in then. Either way, in today's video, we're going to talk about the vehicle, the armor profile, and is it an overpowered tank? Now, first of all, is it overpowered? Yes. Yes, I do believe it is. It's got around 2,000 damage per minute and a 750 damage clip, which does give it a long clip reload at just shy of 18 seconds, but that's still a lot of damage. 750 damage, and you get that all out in 5 seconds. That means, basically, if any Tier 6 is in front of you, you're going to take off around 70 to 80% of its hit point pool, and just kind of laugh, especially because the armor on this tank is quite solid. Now, when it comes to gun depression, 7 degrees, so decent. Penetration, 194 on the standard, 250 on the premium. Very, very good. That's enough to penetrate any Tier 8s. Even your standard is enough to penetrate, honestly, most weak spots on Tier 8s, and any Tier 7 or Tier 6 you'll be aiming at. Alpha, very nice on the HE, 330. That means you can deal a 1,000 damage clip with your high explosive. It's also got pretty good HE pen at 70 millimeters, gotta be real. So if you're aiming at any light tanks or, like a T-49, you can definitely penetrate high explosive shells. Now, when it comes to mobility, 38 kilometers per hour with a reverse of 13. So not fast, but it's also not slow. It's got a power to weight of 14.4. So, I mean, I wouldn't say it's going to be getting from point A to point B as the speed of Usain Bolt, but it'll definitely get the job done in a decent manner. So, we've talked about, obviously, the vehicle itself, the statistics. Now let's break into the part that I find very, very strong, which is the armor profile. So here we are, and I had a very weird advertisement up there I saw. But yeah, so let's go to Tier 7. It's a Blitz Nation, so all the way at the bottom, and here is the Pharaoh. So, it's upper plate. This little flap of spaced armor that it has, and if we go back to Blitz, you can see it. It's this little flap right here is really strong. It's pretty strong. It's about 52 millimeters of space. So if you actually hit that, it's upwards of 275 millimeters thick or 250 on the flat. Basically, no standard ammo, even for most tier 8s, is going to pen it. Apart from that, it does have a weaker spot underneath it at around 226, but I would just suggest if you're in a tier 7 or even most tier 8s to load premium to make it comfortable to pen this vehicle, because that is a really awkward spot. I mean, you've only got a couple spots around that are going to penetrate on the weaker part of the armor, so yeah. Obviously, if you have the lower plate exposed, I'd suggest to shoot at that, as it's only 136 thick. Now, that is nice. I do like that Wargaming made a weak spot, because that means tier 6s can penetrate the vehicle if it overexposes. As well, the turret is not incredibly strong. It's only 195 at most, which means any tier 7 can load premium and pen it. Any tier 8 can literally standard pen it. So, it does have weaknesses, and the turret definitely is a weakness. Even when using it fully hull down, yeah, I mean, it's only 190 again, because it's just flat armor. So, overall, it definitely has its fair share of weaknesses. Now, when it comes to the side armor, 100 millimeters. Now, it does have some spaced armor here and there, but for the most part, you're not going to get too many bounces with that, so be a little careful when side scraping. Rear armor, 44, rear of the turret, 60, meaning that you can actually high explosive pen it quite easily. Overall, when it comes to the armor, keep your front towards your opponents. Don't show your side, don't show your rear. It'll do okay at side scraping, but nothing amazing. You want to be careful showcasing your turret. You should not be expecting this tank to get bounces against tier 8s in general, apart from, I guess, the upper plate if you angle it correctly. The turret itself is really weak, and it doesn't really have a super strong mantlet. So, yeah, just be careful when using this vehicle. So, back to my opinion on this vehicle. Is it overpowered? I think so. I don't believe it's on the same level of overpowered as a vehicle like the Annihilator, or, for example, the Smasher that can get out 640 damage or 660 in the case of the Annihilator in a matter of, 2 seconds or something like that. But I believe that for the armor that it carries, and the fact that it's still able to get out 750 damage with similar DPM to a lot of other tier 7 heavies, it's not bad. It's actually really, really good. Against tier 8s, you'll outtrade almost all of them, and against tier 7s and 6s, you're literally just going to laugh at them as you murder them. And I believe that, in my term of overpowered, it's not necessarily how you fight higher tiered opponents, it's how you fight equal tiered opponents. You shouldn't be able to absolutely laugh in other equal tiered opponents' faces. You should have a equal chance of fighting them and winning or losing. This tank will beat, honestly, most other tier 7s. I would even honestly say that this tank probably has a pretty easy chance of killing Annihilators and Smashers because it has a really nice clip and it has much more armor than them. So, yeah. The only problem with the Pharaoh is that this is probably the ugliest tank I've ever seen in the game. It's quite hideous. So what we're going to do right now is capture base A. Or not A, sorry. I was looking over there at base A. We're going to capture base B. Now, it's most likely that the enemy team has gone over towards C, which you can see they're already at, down to the very simple fact that they're not spotted at the other side. So, we got the Tiger over here aiming, and there's 1, 235 tap. There's 2 for 244, and a 3 for 258. That is 737 damage we just dealt right there, and now we back in the cover. Perfect example of where that 750 damage clip just feels, oh, so nasty. I mean, you really can't do that in any other tier 7 heavies. I mean, even a vehicle, for example, like the, sorry, let me just clear this Tiger first. Never mind, I was gonna say let me clear. But you really can't even deal that with, for example, an Annihilator, because obviously the Annihilator doesn't have that, that damage. It's got 660, not 750. Now, it did get shot in the turret by the T-28 prototype, and that's something you should expect with this vehicle, because as we talked about, the armor is not amazing. So against a vehicle like the prototype, that thing will laugh in my face at my armor. But at the same time, I mean, this prototype, well, there's 1 HE into his vehicle, and 2 HEs into his tank, and yeah, that's what I'm talking about, 3 shells. So already in this battle, we've definitely laughed in the enemy's face a little. We've dealt 1,700 damage, nothing crazy, but we're doing our job. We're going to drive over towards the enemy Pharaoh over here, and this will be a pretty good example to showcase the armor, hopefully. That way you can see kind of what to expect with this tank. So, well, I guess maybe not, because this guy doesn't really understand how to drive, but you can see the upper plate, very, very solid. I mean, the entire upper plate is strong, even when loading premium. As I said, this thing has 250 mils of premium pen. Look at that. That's really solid, but look at that turret. As soon as you load premium, very, very weak. So the upper plate is insane, but you do got to be careful. I would actually suggest to showcase more of the hull than the turret. So kind of use it like a Samwa, where you stick out your frontal armor without actually showcasing the frontal weaknesses of the turret. Normally, I like to do a double helping of gameplay, but to save you on time and overall showcase how I've been doing in the tank so far, after live stream and the gameplay you just saw, I'm going 13 battles, 92%, and 2,300 average damage. Not as high average damage as a vehicle, for example, the Annihilator or the Smasher. However, that does make sense, because if we were to go to a vehicle like the Annihilator, it has quite a bit more DPM at 2,650 compared to the 2,000 DPM that this tank does carry. If it had that extra 600 DPM, I can guarantee that my average damage would be closer to what the Annihilator has at 2,850. So at the end of the day, what do I think about this tank? I do believe that it is overpowered. I think that in a right player's hands, you're not going to get as much damage out as the Annihilator or the Smasher, but if you play it smart and you just don't poke as much, you'll do just as fine. I mean, you get 750 damage in 5 seconds. So, yeah, it's a pretty good tank. Against tier 7s and 6s, its armor is absolutely stupid. It's really only up against tier 8s where it starts to buckle a bit, but so does the Annihilator and Smasher. So, yeah, I think Wargaming did a better job this year on the Halloween tank than last year, for example, like the Titan, and really there's no room for complaints, as it's not a completely broken vehicle that it's unfair in Tier 7, and at the same time, I do think it's good enough that it's going to please most of the people that get it. The only problem is it's just so darn ugly. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and if you'd like to see more like it, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.